Hey everybody, welcome back. Turnpike Fantasy Football 2014. I'm League Commissioner Kevin Mabula. This is the Week 11 preview show. Wow, guys. As I say every year, I am so proud of this league. The competition in this league is amazing. And after this past week, it is going to be a furious finish. There are so many players involved in this that can either make the playoffs or get bounced out right now. It's going to be an exciting last couple weeks. There's nobody on the waiver wire. You guys are all hoarding on to those players, refusing to drop any of them. I'm so proud of you guys. I love it. We have so much integrity in this league. It's the Integrity League. Anyway, let's get to last week's matchups and see how everything broke down heading into the final 2 weeks of Turnpike to Turnpike regular season. First up, we have what I want to call the Dust Bowl, and that is when the two decrepids get together. And speaking of decrepit, John Moore, I want to wish you a very happy early birthday. Your birthday's this Friday, and I wanted to wish you a happy birthday. I'm sorry. Happy birthday, John! John's going to be 77 years old this Friday. God bless him. John took on another decrepit old bastard in Jeff Araya Golden Bomb, and John won this one 141 to 99. Wow, Jeff, the sky is falling. Wow, is this the same season that we had a couple weeks ago? Wow, John, you got 26 points out of Brandon Marshall, 22 points out of Matt Stafford, and 19 points out of Jimmy Graham. Where, Jeff, you got 18 points out of DeMarco Murray, 16 out of Larry Fitzgerald, and 16 out of your quarterback, Matt Ryan. Great win for you, John. Had to at least kind of help you get a bad taste out of your mouth that is this past season. Again, another season not making the playoffs, but if you can at least play spoiler in these last couple weeks, it will give you something to actually have fun with. And I know you're going to do your best to field the most competitive team that you possibly can. Up next, we've got Bob Crane's Julius Jones taking on Deputy Commissioner Chris Long's Asgardian Thunder Gods, and Bobby wins this one 149 to 92. Bobby got 44 points out of your new wide receiver, Toy Des Bryant, 28 out of Justin Forsett, and 26 out of the rapist Ben Roethlisberger. Where Chris, you got 23 points out of your wide receiver, Mike Evans, 20 points out of your quarterback, Drew Brees, and 15 out of Demaryius Thomas. Up next, we've got Mr. Kenny Long's godfathers, Deputy Commissioner Chris Long's oldest son, taking on Brian Sheehan's Michael Sam's Gerbils. And Kenny wins this one 180, more on that point total in just 1 second. 180 to 129. Brian, 129, and you get thumped by 50 points. Kenny, you got 45 points out of the cross-eyed Marshawn Lynch, 37 points out of Martavius Bryant, excellent free agent pickup, and 34 points out of your defense, the Carolina. Wow. The Arizona Cardinals were, sheesh, you got 26 points out of Calvin Johnson, your brand new wide receiver. Finally got to dust him off this past week. 25 points out of Josh McCown, and 24 points out of your defense, the Green Bay Packers. Now, that brings us to this week's Meet the Manager. I said to myself, this kid scores 180 points. This isn't the first time he's had a high point total. I wonder if he was even aware of it. Turns out he wasn't. So I talked to Kenny Long this week on this week's Meet the Manager, and I wanted to ask him a couple things about what it's like being a Long member in that house this season when he's the only one who hasn't won a game against one of his fellow family members. And the odds are he's not making the playoffs. No, he's not making the playoffs, where the other two might. Let's see what it's like these days inside the Long household. I found it pretty interesting. Here's Meet the Manager. So joining me this week on Meet the Manager is the owner of Kenny's Godfathers, a guy who's had a really tough go this season. And, of course, I'm talking about Deputy Commissioner Chris Long's oldest son, Kenny Long. Kenny, are you there?
Yes, I am, Kev.
So here's the thing, man. I feel really bad for you because I doubt most people in this league realize how good your team is. You've just fell victim to teams that have outscored you each week, with crazy stats.
Thank you, Kevin.
What was that?
Because no one listens. In my household, dude, I'm getting ripped every single week by my dad, saying his team's the best, and and every single week I'm like, yo, I played a team that scored 120 points again, and they beat me barely again.
Yep. That's what I'm getting at. I mean, you barely lose every week. And, you have put together a team that is 3-6 that easily could be 6-3.
I think so, too. Thank you, Kevin.
I'm being honest. But life in your house has to be absolutely brutal.
Sometimes, yeah, it can be really bad. But it makes me feel a bit better because Greg's team is straight trash this year.
You know what, though? That's the first point I want to bring up. Number one, are you rooting against him because he has an outside shot in these last 2 weeks to make the playoffs?
No, I always root for my brother. It'd be nice if we won some money for a change.
That's nice. Well, there's a very good chance that your dad can win this thing. His team's looking pretty solid.
Yeah, his team is looking pretty good this year. He picked all those receivers, and I thought, I always like the running backs more than the receivers. He's always strives on the receivers. This year, it finally worked out for him.
Yeah, your dad and I are a lot alike with things like that, and I went receiver heavy too. And we left all those running backs to you and Golden Bomb. You guys just kept flicking them right off the wire, right off, in the draft, one right after the other. You guys were taking them.
Yeah, that's right. Marshawn Lynch finally went off. He was in his slump, but glad he came back this week. That was impressive.
Yeah, but he was playing the Giants.
Yeah, I should have known.
I mean, come on. Is that really? Was that really a surprise?
Yeah.
You know what? The reason that I wanted to talk to you specifically this week is because once again you put together a week where you scored 180 points. Now, this is something that I want to explain to everybody else that's watching this right now, and that is you have your time. You're an original T2T member, right? You've been with us since the beginning, right?
Yes.
So you were how old the first year?
Oh man. How many years is this?
You're 17. Now? You're 17 now, right?
I'm 17. Yeah.
So you were 10.
I was 10. Yeah.
And you won the league in your second or third year, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know that the top 3 point totals, because I do my homework before I do these shows,
okay,
the top 3 point totals in Turnpike to Turnpike history you own?
Really?
Yes. In 2008, you have the highest score ever, which was 189 points. And in 2008, that was the year I think you won it. You also had the highest score of 177 points. And now this year, you have 180 this past week, tied with Golden Bomb from 2010. So you own the top 3 highest scores ever in this league.
Wow, I didn't know that. I'm very I'm excited about that.
You should.
That's a word to have. I'm gonna keep that title.
Absolutely, that's something that you should at least be able to say that will help you get through some of these long days coming up.
Yeah, that's my bragging right.
But here's another thing. I'll give you one thing that everybody can make fun of you about. Aaron Stampa's Snoozy Loaf has 1 win. Do you know who that came against?
Yes. Yes, I do.
You lost to him 85-82.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty.
That was my worst week, I think.
What do you think of the trade he and Saminsky made a couple weeks ago?
Well, what was it again?
Eddie Lacy for Darren Sproles and Ben Tate.
Yeah, well, my dad was actually telling me about that. He was saying, you think you kind of robbed them, but
kind of.
It is, dude. If they're gonna put their money towards the league, and there's money in this league, I take it very seriously. So I have all rights to you getting the better. I mean, I think you got the better deal on that trade. But hey, Sproles did very good again last night.
Yep.
And those are still two solid running backs that you traded. Even though Eddie Lacy was a first round pick, I still think you got the better deal. But I definitely think that Sproles can still do something for the Snoozy Looks.
All right, cool. That's fair. Now, that being said, what do you think of this? Bob Crane, who everybody loves in our league, called Snoozy Loaf's team an expansion team this week. Is this the worst fantasy football team you've ever seen?
It's one of them. For a 12-man league, yes. One of them.
All right, so here, I want to ask you a couple things before I let you go. You've got this matchup this week. You've got the Possums. You're playing against another champion, the defending champion, Jeff Goldenbaum, who's reeling right now. And they have a big-time problem with bye weeks this week. Do you think that it's possible over the next 2 weeks that Jeff Goldenbaum, who was in first place for a long time, undefeated in this season for a long time, do you think that he could possibly be on the ropes and on his way out of playoff contention?
I don't know, man. Jeff always seems to find a way to win.
Yeah,
even though, my brother helps him pick his team,
What?
But yeah, it seems like he always finds a way to win. He'll probably pick up someone off the waiver wire and figure out how to put a lineup together and make a good team. So, no, I don't think he'll be on the ropes. I think he'll be fine.
How do you feel about playing him this week? Do you feel confident?
I always feel confident. I always think I put in the best lineup that I can to win. And I always think I'm going to win. And it's something like I just lose almost every time this year. It's just not my year.
Do you agree with what I say every week that Marshawn Lynch is cross-eyed?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, I do.
All right. I just wanted to make sure that you were agreeing with me there. Because that guy, I don't know how he can see the field with his eyes like that, but it's amazing.
He's just a freak, man. He does not care at all. He'll run anyone over, man. He'll run into anything.
So you're telling me that there will not be any animosity in your household if your brother, your younger brother, and your dad, who's obviously going to make the playoffs, but if they both make the playoffs, you're going to be cool with that?
I mean, I'd be kind of jealous, but we got swept last year. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So we gotta win something.
How tough would it be if they both wound up making it all the way through to the championship game? How difficult would that week be for you?
It would be difficult, but I wouldn't know who to root for. I'd probably just be
You got to root for your dad.
Root for whoever the person that he's the underdog. So it's just like for a good comeback.
All right, that's cool. All right, man. I know you got to hit wrestling practice tonight. I appreciate taking a couple minutes to talk to me. Have you been enjoying the videos this year?
Yeah, I have been. They're great, dude. I love that. Keep doing it. Keep up the work.
All right. Take care. Get to wrestling practice.
You'll be a sportscaster someday, Kev. I'll see you later. I got to get the wrestling.
Someday. All right, man. Get going.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye. That's Kenny Long, owner of Kenny's Godfathers. Thanks, Kenny. Appreciate you taking the time. Kenny's in between football practice earlier today, and now he's off to wrestling practice. Kenny, listen. When you're practicing wrestling, work on your figure 4 leg locks and your turnbuckle work. Make sure you chew the buckle first before you smash somebody's head into it. That's just a little tip from me to you. Wrestling's awesome. Up next from last week, we've got really what I want to start calling the Hipster Classic. This was the first annual Hipster Classic, and that is when Mike Bond took on, a lot of you probably don't know this, his good friend from way back in life. They were college roommates, for Christ's sake. Mike Bond's East Fall Blunts taking on Aaron Stampa's Snoozy Loaf. And I know most of us were pulling for the upset in this week, where Aaron could have actually gotten another win, but it didn't happen. Bond wins this one 101-89. Bond gets another great night out of Emmanuel Sanders, 18 points, his tight end Greg Olson, 16 points, and his kicker Mason Crosby, 15. Where Aaron, you got 27 points out of your quarterback, Mark Sanchez. You also got 13 points out of Darren Sproles, and you also got 11 points out of your wide receiver, Mike Wallace. So that's going to bring us into the next match, but before we get into that one, that leads us to this Lacygate update. Here it is. Basically, a couple points separate Eddie Lacy from not only Darren Sproles, but Ben Tate combined. So it seems like a fair trade so far. It's not too bad. It's not that bad. When you're talking 3 points, no big deal. Not that bad of a deal. I was hoping that it was going to be just a massive amount for Lacy. But I'm going to let this one slide because in the next match we're talking about that team that has Eddie Lacy. And, of course, we're talking about Jeff Szyminski's Paper Tiger taking on my Warriors of Babylon. And my Warriors prevail in this one, 170 to 112. I got 56 points out of my new quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, 48 out of my wide receiver stud, Jordy Nelson, and 23 out of the rookie, Calvin Benjamin. Where, Jeff, you got 29 points out of the freshly stolen Eddie Lacy, 23 points out of a nice waiver wire pickup, Mike Vick, and 12 points out of your kicker, Caleb Sturgis. And in the last match from last week, we have Matt Dreyfus's. Matt, you're another one like Goldie. Your team is kind of like on the skids now, taking on Greg Long, the Little Longs, Mount Laurel Lancers, and Greg wins this one 141 to 95. Greg got 42 points out of Peyton Manning, 42 points out of his Eagles defense, and 18 out of Mark Ingram. Where Matt, you got 26 points out of Jared Cook, 16 out of Kyle Orton, and 16 out of Julio Jones. So, wow, this week made things very, very interesting. All top teams lost, tightening up the ranks. We've got some guys on the incline. Mike Bond is on a 4-game winning streak. Can he do what Jeff Goldenbaum did last season? Get out of an 0-4 hole, climb all the way out of it, make the playoffs, make a run, and win a championship. Huge week coming up for Mike Bond. Let's look at this coming weeks. Mike Bond will be taking on Deputy Commissioner Chris Longs as Guardian Thunder Gods in a matchup that is make or break for Bond. Bond wins. He's set for basically what's going to become the playoffs next week for him. Loses, he's done. Also next week, we've got my Warriors of Babylon taking on Aaron Stampa and his Snoozy Loafs. I need to keep pace. I'm in the playoff hunt right now. I got to keep that momentum going. Greg Long's Mount Laurel Lancers is taking on the Paper Tigers. Greg's another one fighting for a playoff chance. Huge game for him. A win here, he's got basically a playoff game next week. A loss here, he's out of the playoff chase. Brian Sheehan's Michael Sam's Gerbils taking on Matt Dreyfus's Fishtown Off in the Corner. Matt texted me today. He is in jeopardy. His 5-year streak of making the Turnpike to Turnpike playoffs is on the line. He is now 4-5-1, taking on Brian Sheehan at 6-4. This is another huge game for playoffs. This is an awesome, awesome week for us, guys. Paying attention to all teams across the board. Next, we've got John Moore's Gravediggers. John is trying to play spoiler this year, and he's going to do it this week against Bob Crane, Julius Jones. Bob's at 5-4-1. Again, another one trying to make the playoffs. This is going to be an awesome game. And in the last matchup, really what I've been looking forward to talking about this entire video is Jeff Goldenbaum's Hamilton Square Possums taking on Kenny Long's Kenny's Godfathers. Jeff, you've got bye week blues this week, and this kid has got running backs and players ready to go. Jeff, you've got to be pulling your hair out. Jeff, you've got to be biting your nails because this is going to be a tough one, buddy. It's going to be an unbelievably furious finish these next 2 weeks. I can't wait to see how this all plays out. I'm League Commissioner Kevin Bull. Happy Veterans Day to everybody. I'll talk to you guys next week. See ya. See ya. Bye.